Welcome to Wrasslin Raw!
All right, you're listening to Wrasslin Raw, the podcast that takes you back to when Raw became war and Attitude ruled. Thank you for joining us. You're here with Ryan Arico.
Ain't no meat in that sandwich, let me tell you.
Joe Giammatteo.
I want apple juice.
I'm the one and only Jason Bartlett. We're going to examine WWE history, one episode of Raw is War at a time. But first, mail call.
You've got mail.
There we go. Some comments from some listeners on YouTube. So we've got a new commenter here, at Rowdy SDC. Posted to us, Billy Gunn deserved way better. Dude should have been world champ at least once. Great podcast. Thank you very much for the nice words there. And I agree. He should have been champ for at least a short stint.
I know I brought it up a while ago, at least once or twice, but JR said they did want to do a singles run with him. The biggest problem was Billy Gunn had asthma, so it made it difficult for him to go that 20-minute match you need out of your heavyweight star for a pay-per-view. And that's why he always did so well in that tag team situation, because the moment his asthma would start to work up, he could tag out, get a quick break, and then come back in. So I agree, he was definitely had the body and the look and the ring skills, but it sounds like that was what kind of kept him from really going forward with that.
Yeah, and I always thought that maybe, and I had heard that too about his asthma, I had thought that maybe he could be like Kane, like job it out after 24 hours or so.
Oh, jeez.
Just put the belt on him a little bit, though.
Just give it to him.
Also from YouTube, frequent listener and frequent commenter, Chris K789. Chrissy sent us a message saying, now that Wrasslin Raw has reached the 3/4 checkpoint of 1998, what are your individual number one biggest highlights and biggest lowlights through these 9 months of 1998 Raw? What do you think? Joe, do you have an answer to that?
Yeah, I think there's only one correct answer here, as far as I'm concerned. The King of the Ring 98 Hell in a Cell. It's still just amazing to see all these years later, and it's been talked about so many times that is the easy answer for me.
Low light?
Oh man, do we have to answer that? It's DOA is the easy answer there too.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, lately it's been the oddities and maybe the headbangers, this whole thing going on. Yeah. So they're making me forget about how terrible it is to see DOA every week.
Right in the same wavelength as me for both of those answers, because I went with the exact same thing. The highlight was Hell in the Cell. I'm a huge Mankind and Mick Foley mark, so that was by far the highlight for me. And low light is just the fact that how many years later now, and we still have DOA showing up weekly on our fucking screens, weekly.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of anything else but for a low light other than that.
Yeah. For my highlight, this is something that we've talked about in the past couple weeks, but the way that 1998 has really, really fleshed out the top of the card. So I'm talking the development that we've gotten out of Mankind, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock. These are the figures of the Attitude Era, and they were present before, but 1998 has really allowed them to get out from their old stories, start new stories, and really show what kind of, for lack of a better term, what kind of range they have in being able to entertain us. And I've really loved that.
They really flourished in 98.
Yeah. Low light, it's actually a tie for me. I couldn't decide between the two. I don't remember Jackie and Sable being this obnoxious, this just so incredibly terrible. Like, I always hated Sable. I've never been a fan of Sable, but the whole skank, ho, terrible. And that's actually tied with how much of a fucking
Dan
creep
Severn?
Val Venus is. No, Val Venus. I did not expect Val Venus to crumble. Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't sure he was going to hold up 25 years later, but he, in my eyes at least, he has crashed.
Yeah, I was going to say.
He has crashed and
holds
burned.
Up just fine.
No.
Ladies.
The gimmick is quite limp, if I have to stick with that.
I do want to point out, Chrissy, you probably know this being a friend of the show, but we do have in a few months, we will have our end of the year extravaganza. So we do recap 1998. We go over some highlights and lowlights. We talk about the jobber of the year,
which has a new candidate tonight.
Certainly does. So please, for any of you new listeners, be sure to look out for that in a few months.
Yeah, and thank you to Chrissy and Rowdy SDC for giving us those comments. We love seeing it. We love talking about it here on the air. So keep it up, guys. You keep sending them to us, and we'll keep addressing them. So without further ado, I'm really, really excited to get into this episode. In this episode of Wrasslin Raw, we're going to be talking about the Raw that aired on October 5th, 1998. This Raw was recorded at the Wrasslin Arena in East Lansing, Michigan, and features Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler on commentary. Are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
Ready.
All right, then. Let's get into it. For those of you out there that missed it last week, Vince McMahon finally got his comeuppance in the form of a fucking Zamboni, ramming into the ring to deliver Stone Cold Steve Austin into a dog pile on Vince. That was before Austin got hauled off to the old Crush condo, aka jail.
Austin got McMahon. Austin got McMahon.
And shortly after that, The Undertaker and Kane, they had also had enough of Vince's shit and savagely beat him down, damaging his leg. And that is going to take us into the intro, the proper intro of the show, which then goes straight into our first match of the night. D'Lo Brown with Mark Henry defeats X-Pac with Chyna by pinfall in 5 minutes and 17 seconds to win the WWF European Championship. I loved the King saying that the people in Lisbon are going to be excited about this. I also loved Mark Henry psyching D'Lo up on the ramp on the way down to the ring. Just something about that put a big old smile on my face. Very good to see. And things started off hot. What a fantastic power slam from D'Lo within the first sequence. And of course, the trash talking. Who doesn't love D'Lo Brown's trash talking? It's great, especially whenever X-Pac starts his rally and the trash talking stops. It's just the little things that are part of that storytelling that really get me up for it. Chyna, she ended up getting served with more papers there. At this point in the show, we got confirmation that those papers are from Mark Henry. We don't know quite what they are yet, but definitely from Mark Henry here. We were sitting in a headlock whenever that happened, and Chyna looked amazing, by the way. There was a great camera view of D'Lo and Mark Henry selling X-Pac's rally out of the headlock. That was really great framing, their facial expressions. And I talk up D'Lo because it's well known here at this point that I am a total mark for D'Lo Brown, but we can't sleep on X-Pac here. He was doing a fantastic job coming up from underneath. Let's not forget that the 1-2-3 Kid was rooted in the comeback, and X-Pac was doing really great with that in this match. Something about that comeback style just works for him. He does it really well. And in the end, I really loved the interference, too. It was timed perfectly. I especially loved how much it made Mark Henry look like an absolute beast, the way that he just manhandled X-Pac. That got us to the finish and the return of our European champion. So, guys, what a great way to start the night. Fantastic work from everyone involved. Ryan, what'd you think of how we kicked it off?
Yeah, I completely agree. The X-Pac, D'Lo Brown, this has become a pretty familiar match at this point, but for good reason. They always put on a good show. It's always entertaining, and this one was no different. I was a little surprised that they took the European title off X-Pac so quickly. I figured maybe the next pay-per-view
24
at the very
hours.
earliest. Yeah, basically. We're 1 week removed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
from the pay-per-view. So I was a little shocked by that, but in the end, I'm pretty happy that D'Lo Brown gets to represent Europe once again. And I know Europe has to be pretty thrilled about that as well. So I agree, all around fun match. The interruption worked. We still got the papers coming in with Chyna, so we have the Mark Henry story still going on. This is firing on all cylinders here.
Yeah, this is one of those matchups that we'll just probably never get sick of seeing. Even their C-level matches are going to be better than most, right? So,
yeah.
But they've had a lot of A-plus matches, and this one here was a slow-paced match for the first half of it. A little bit boring at times, but it really picked up after D'Lo missed his frog splash. There was a huge crowd pop for the Bronco Buster. That move is really heating up with the crowds lately, and I love the spot with Mark Henry driving X-Pac's back into the post, allowing for that good finish. So I really like that Mark Henry is involved in a storyline now, because he's just someone that you just don't want to have on the bench. Like you need to have him out there.
He's a sight to behold when he's out there. He's a mammoth of a man.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's good to see, and it seems to be a long-term story that he's involved in. So that is definitely entertaining every week.
Yeah, completely agree. And you guys both mentioned it. We've seen this a couple times now, and that made me think, over the past few weeks, we had the three-ways with The Rock, Shamrock, Mankind, and then Undertaker, Kane got thrown into the mix. And each time we had that, we each made comments about how this is fine, but didn't we just see this? It lost a little bit of its luster every time. And it's funny to me that you have those big names in that match that were getting repeated, and it loses its luster, but you have these two somewhat upper mid-card, we'll say, these two upper mid-card guys, and we don't get tired of it. It's a pretty big testament to their skill, I think. And speaking of D'Lo being our European champion, I want to just throw it out real quick to Lord Thomas, the Viscount of Grimsby, a resident of Europe, our man on the scene over there. If he could just chime in at some point, let us know if he felt that D'Lo Brown was a responsible champion for Europe, if he was an appropriate and...
Did he represent the UK properly?
Yeah, I'd really like to hear the European perspective on that. All right, so we'll keep it moving to JR letting us know that we're going to be getting Stone Cold Steve Austin's side of the story at some point tonight. He's going to make an appearance, so sit tight for that. We're also going to get Kane versus Shamrock tonight. That was a pretty big news to hear. And then, not to be outdone by that, we're also going to get The Rock versus The Undertaker. They are just padding the hell out of this card. But as if that wasn't enough, we're also going to be checking in with Vince McMahon from a quote-unquote undisclosed medical center. I did try to find out where exactly they filmed this, but Google was being extremely useless with that. And sure enough, we got a view of Vince McMahon laying in a hospital bed. Some kind of medical professional was there trying to give him grape juice. Vince was having a tantrum about it, and I loved that. We'll see more of that throughout the night, but we quickly moved away from that to the oddities out playing touch football earlier today, and nobody gave a single shit. Hey, speaking of things that no one gives a shit about, back at the arena, the Headbangers. They came down to the ring to call out the oddities. Mosh gave a really milquetoast promo there. It wasn't believable. None of this is believable. None of this is anything worth giving a shit about. Specifically, though, the Headbangers were calling out the Insane Clown Posse, Violent J and Shaggy 2 Dope.
Of course they were.
Yeah. After a lot of ass-dragging, ICP finally got in the ring to naturally get beaten down, and it really exposed a lot of this angle in that ICP can take a bump, but they can't actually wrestle. I feel like that paved the way for modern wrestling in a way, but we then got another view of Vince in his hospital room, followed by clips from Sunday Night Heat last night where Stone Cold Steve Austin took over a production truck. That was followed by a longer, more in-depth repeat of the same information we got at the start of the show. So, with all of that being said, it should be obvious by now that we are chock full of storytelling tonight. Wrestling's going to take a teensy bit of a backseat to the story tonight. Not a huge backseat, but a teensy bit. So I just want to pause it here before we move on. Ryan, we got a lot of setup in this mid-match segment, so not only is Vince in the hospital, but the Headbangers tore apart ICP and just shit's going on. What'd you think of all of it?
And the moment we saw McMahon in the hospital bed, anyone that lived through and watched the Attitude Era knows what episode we're on now. It has to be excited moving forward. So that's evident from the very beginning. But Headbangers versus ICP, I don't really have anything. This was bullshit from the get-go. I guess I'll give both members of ICP a little bit of credit for taking those multiple chair shots. They were good chair shots, and they took them like men, I guess. But I don't care about the Headbangers. I don't care about ICP or the Oddities. So this whole thing is a waste of time. But at least we ended with looking at McMahon with his foot laid up in the hospital again, just reminding us what we have to look forward to in the very, very near future today.
Yeah, I really enjoyed them. I think they did a really good job of setting the stage for Mr. McMahon and the undisclosed medical facility that he's in, because they don't want anyone to find him. Obviously, no one's going to find him. He's in this undisclosed building. So that was a good job setting the stage. And as far as the Headbangers and Oddities go, I don't have much there. It's the Headbangers are getting booed, as they should be, by this crowd. And the one thing that did surprise me was that ICP, I was expecting them to maybe hulk up here, but they didn't. They just got their asses beat. And unfortunately, that probably means we're going to be getting more of this in the future. And the crowd was basically dead for that whole thing. So
yeah,
maybe they should just pretend it never happened and not not continue with any of it.
Move on.
Yeah, so we will move on then to something infinitely more entertaining. As I said, a ton of storytelling here tonight, so I had to break it up there in the middle because we're going to stick with storytelling. We're going to stick with Vince in his hospital room. By God, that healthcare professional was there to let Vince know that a really big fella was there to visit Vince. And even though I wanted so bad to just type this out verbatim, word for word, copy it, I won't do that. But with a gleeful turn that frown upside down, I started popping my ass off as Mankind showed up there to visit Vince. Mankind brought balloons, candy. I popped again with Mankind yelling, "Vinny's got a sweet tooth." I remember pissing myself laughing at that whenever I was a teenager. And then Mankind introduced Yerple the Clown. My God, Yerple. I can't say enough about Yerple. Yerple is one of those things that...
She does a trick with that dog.
So, I'm going to try not to get too bogged down in this because I love this shit. After Yerple showed up and started not antagonizing, but genuinely trying to cheer up Vince McMahon, as was Mankind, we also then got introduced to Mr. Socko. Mr. Socko will end up becoming a huge thing. I had a fucking Mr. Socko t-shirt. It was a very big thing back during this time. And it more or less ends right after that with Vince kicking everyone out of the room. So I don't know about you guys, but like for me, this has always been peak Vince McMahon. Like whenever we talk about the overacting and the tone of voice and the mannerisms and the facial expressions and just all of that shit, this episode, Vince in the hospital, is peak Vince McMahon for me. I love it. This is it. This is the pinnacle of wrestling for me. Wrestling storytelling, at least. And like I said, this series of segments with Vince in the hospital, just by and far one of my favorite things in wrestling history. Joe, what'd you have on Yerple and Mr. Socko?
Mankind is sort of a good indirect sidekick for Steve Austin right now because he seems to be really bothering Mr. McMahon. So Mr. McMahon he has a problem with Steve Austin, and now he appears to have a problem with Mankind. So that's really cool to see. It just shows how versatile Mankind is. He can basically feud with anybody and make it be awesome. So that's good to see. And yeah, I mean, this is obviously a pre-recorded segment that they did, and I'd imagine everybody involved in this had to be having a lot of fun with this. It's just really great stuff, and it has nothing to do with wrestling. Like I said, it's pre-recorded, so it's not even like it's some shocking thing like the Zamboni that was live. That was like they were taking a risk there. But this, it's like there's no risk. Let's just film this, pre-record it, and just have it be amazing and really spread throughout this entire 2-hour show.
Yeah, I had a smile from ear to ear the moment I heard the nurse say, "There's a big fella looking for you," because I knew exactly what we were about to get, and it was just as great rewatching it as I remember it live. We get the introduction of Mr. Socko. It's very short here, which is, I guess I remember the Mr. Socko puppet show being a little bit longer, but I think that's just because what a huge part Mr. Socko is going to become to Mick. It's funny, this sock puppet kind of brings him to a new level of stardom with the fans, this little fucking hand puppet. But it does. Mick finds a way to make this gimmick enormous, bigger than you would ever think a fucking dirty sock with a rough face painted on it could do. But Joe, to your point, it just shows what Mick Foley can do with just about anything. He can make anything work. And McMahon, perfect here as well. All of his face mannerisms, just how he reacts. I loved every moment of it. This is the first iconic scene with McMahon in the hospital of the night. We still have one more to go, though. This is the gift that keeps on giving tonight.
Yeah, and it's funny that you put it that way because the gift that keeps on stinking and sucking, Sable. Sable immediately followed this. Talk about like highs to lows, the ups and downs, the roller coaster that is this episode. We had the highest of highs.
I've been training.
She came out down to the ring wearing one of her usual cat suits, and it really sounded like at one point Jerry Lawler said, "We're talking baby food," and I popped. I popped hard. Unfortunately, she joined commentary for our next match. Mark Marrow with Jackie defeats Vader by pinfall in 4 minutes and 14 seconds. Before we get started, I had heard a really troubling rumor about Vader. Ryan, would you mind checking the official Wrasslin Raw 10-10-3-2-1 answering machine? Maybe Vader left us a message to try to get ahead of these troubling rumors.
Yeah, let's see what he had to say.
Maybe Vader time's over. I'm nothing but a big piece of shit. Big fat piece of shit.
Same update.
Well, in that case, it seems like the rumors may be true. Vader is our jobber of the week. Take it, Ryan.
Thank you, Bartlett. That's right. The man they call Vader is our jobber of the week. Finally. Vader was born Leon Allen White on May 14th, 1955 in Linwood, California. Vader made his debut in 1985, training under Brad Ragans, and used the ring names Baby Bull, Bull Power, Leon White, Big Van Vader, Super Vader, and Vader. When Leon was young, he and his family lived in a rough area of Los Angeles known as South Central, where he and his siblings once experienced a home break-in while they were still in the house. Lucky for the family, White's father, who was an underwater welder for the U.S. Navy, invented the automobile hoist, which made the family somewhat wealthy and let them move to a safer LA suburb called Bell. At Bell High, Leon would excel at the shot put, wrestling, and football, and by the time he graduated, he was a nationally ranked center and being recruited by over 40 colleges. He ended up at the University of Colorado, where he became a star offensive lineman. And in 1978, he joined the NFL. He was drafted by the Los Angeles Rams in the 3rd round. White earned a NFC championship ring with the Rams when they made it to the Super Bowl in his 2nd year with the team. Sadly, because of a bad knee injury, Leon did not play a single down that year and was eventually forced to leave the NFL because of that knee injury. 5 years later, in 1985, while White was working out at the gym, he was approached to become a pro wrestler and began training and competing for the American Wrestling Association out of Minnesota. His ring work improved quickly, and it wasn't long before Leon became one of AWA's biggest stars. Vader would spend 1987 through 1992 overseas wrestling for Catch Wrestling Association based out of Austria and Germany, but more importantly for New Japan Wrestling, where Vader would start to get noticed by the wrestling world. His size and stiff ring work made him loved in Japan, and by 1989 he won the New Japan's IWGP Heavyweight Championship, a title he would win 2 more times before leaving Japan in early 92. It was during this time that Vader had his famous incident where his eye popped out of socket and he popped it back in and finished the match. Yeah. So I don't know if anyone's ever watched that, but it's something to see. While finishing up his work in Japan, Leon joined WCW part-time in 1990. He would join the company full-time in April of 92. He was immediately thrown into the World Heavyweight title picture with a match against Sting for his belt, but Vader was disqualified. However, Vader would win the title off Sting a few months later at the Great American Bash. He would lose and regain the belt 2 more times between 92 and 93, his second reign lasting for several months. By 94, Vader's injuries began to stack up, and so did his weight. His work in the ring began to suffer. In 95, Vader was fired from WCW after a backstage incident where a intoxicated Leon started a fight with Paul Orndorff, and by all accounts, Vader was whooped on by the older Mr. Wonderful. White then briefly returned to Japan before joining the WWF in 96. Vader made his WWF debut at the 1996 Royal Rumble, billed as the Man They Call Vader, though originally wanted to rename him the Mastodon, which is why JR and Vince used that name so much for him for pretty much his entire time here at the WWF. Though hyped as a unstoppable monster, Shawn Michaels defeated him and won the Royal Rumble. Vader then returned to the ring, assaulting everyone, including Michaels. Vader continued his destruction on Monday Night Raw after defeating Savio Vega, after the match assaulting WWF officials and eventually the WWF president, Gorilla Monsoon, which resulted in Vader's suspension. The suspension was to allow Leon time off for an already scheduled shoulder surgery. So I ask, why did you bring him in now? This time off killed all hype that was built up from him murdering Gorilla Monsoon. And I remember us here, we were pretty hyped on him at that moment. And then he was just gone for a significant amount of time. When he returned, he was bigger and slower than ever. Nevertheless, they tried to work him into storylines with some of the biggest stars, like his match against Shawn Michaels, who kicked Vader in the head because he was so frustrated with Vader's lack of, I don't know what to call it, lack of caring? Is that maybe the best way to put it? He just didn't give a fuck about wrestling anymore, and it was evident to everyone. No matter how great a mouthpiece they gave him, like Paul Bearer or Jim Cornette, or how huge the star he was facing off against, The Undertaker, Kane, Mankind, Shawn Michaels, none of it could compensate for the fact that this wasn't the same Vader we saw in the early 90s in WCW. This was an overweight, out of shape, former star who didn't give a shit anymore. After all hope of any continued push for Vader died is when we got the infamous words after Vader's 53rd loss in a row to Kane. Vader said, "Maybe Vader time's over. I ain't nothing but a big piece of shit. A big fat piece of shit." From there, Vader tumbled further and further down the car.
Tumbled.
Until we get to now, Vader has been doing nothing but jobbing out for months and months at this time. And to finish it off, he jobs out to fucking Mark Marrow, the wild man himself, on Vader's last Monday Night Raw. What a way to go out. He then lost to Edge on April 11th, 1998's episode of Sunday Night Heat in his final televised WWF match, and lost to Shamrock at a house show on October 25th, 1998 as his final WWF match. After leaving the WWF, Leon would return to Japan for the next few years, working full-time between All Japan Pro Wrestling and Wrestling Noah. After 2003, he returned to the States and more or less retired, sporadically showing up for one-off appearances at TNA in 2003 and 2015, and for the WWE in 2005, 2012, and 2016. He would also show up on the indie circuit if they could pay him enough. Vader's final match was on May 25th, 2017, defeating the Iron Man at the Wrestling Jam V event held in Ringgold, Georgia. Leon White died on June 18th, 2018, after a month-long hospitalization for pneumonia, and he was 63 years old. Vader's record was 976 wins, 709 losses, and 77 draws. So certainly not a jobber in the typical sense of the word, especially since he was such a huge star at one point in his career, but he was nothing but garbage in the WWF from the time he showed up. And in the last year, definitely, he's been a jobber.
Yeah.
I believe he is in the Hall of Fame too, right? I think after he died. I mean, that recording that we have that he sent us, I think that was ultimately his biggest problem in his WWF run, is that he was just too fat.
Yeah.
He was clearly over 400 pounds his entire time there. Like, if he could have got down to like 350 or something, he maybe could have been better.
Yeah, his weight. And I think the other thing that recording tells us is that he would rather throw a tantrum about it rather than try to change anything. No, seriously. They'd send him to fat camp, all of these things, and they worked with him forever, and just nothing was working. And you could see it in the ring that he was not willing to change. He was not willing to work half the time, or at least work well. But thank you for that, Ryan. I didn't know that Vader had an NFC championship ring. I knew he played pro. I didn't know he got a ring, though.
I didn't know that either. Just like you, I knew he was in the pros for a little bit, but yeah. Huh. But that ring, like was said, he didn't play a single snap that entire season because he was injured, but still.
Yeah, still. All right. Well, thank you for that, Vader. My goodness. Let's talk about this match. In the match here, Sable started talking about the WWF Women's Championship during entrances, but still did not address where exactly the belt is. She was talking about how now, all of a sudden, that's her absolute passion, when really, it seems like plastic surgery might have been her real passion.
Titties.
Baby food. That was the entirety of this match, really. JR would occasionally break in to call the match, but then Sable would revert back to reciting her mental script in her robotic voice. And in the end, the Mastodon went out with a blow to the Masta Balls, setting up the finish. Vader got zero fanfare while leaving because some dipshit gave Jackie a microphone. Sable ended up in the ring.
Ho!
And after an attack, Jackie pulled out scissors and chopped off a chunk of what I really confidently believe would be Sable's hair extensions. So that's where this fizzled out. And talk about the most fitting way for Vader to leave our screens forever. And because this is the last time Vader will be appearing on anything we watch. As Ryan said there, he does stay in the WWF. He shows up on Heat. He shows up in a couple house shows. But this is the last time he will be on our screens here. So for the last time, Ryan, can we please hear that amazing Vader clip?
Absolutely.
Maybe Vader time's over.
It is.
I'm nothing but a big piece of shit. Big fat piece of shit.
Vader time is over.
Yeah, what did I say at the time? It was like, that was the middle of summer. It was like July 25th, 1997. Vader becomes self-aware. Well, thank you so much for playing that for us, Ryan. And Joe, what did you have to say on this match and its aftermath?
Yeah, just completely fat shamed out of the WWF, like I've been saying these past few weeks. It's against Mark Marrow. You can't get worse than that. Sable's on commentary. Can't get worse than that. And then they give Jackie a live mic right after you take a loss here.
Can't get worse than that.
Can't get worse than that. So what a fitting end to this terrible run for Vader in the WWF, and a perfect ending here on Wrasslin Raw to have the Jobber of the Week crown placed on his head this week.
Well deserved.
Yeah, and this is a classic episode of Monday Night Raw that everybody remembers, and this is the reason why Vader's last Raw match.
It's what everyone thinks about.
Yep.
This match, I guess it's fitting. Vader's going to leave just as he came in, no selling every shot from every superstar and lumbering around the ring. This is what we've gotten for 2 years out of him. So why change now?
Yeah.
He gets sent packing after the Marvelocity and a nice clean 1-2-3 pin on Vader. Get the fuck out the door, buddy. You're done.
Yeah.
Have Sable sing your farewell song on the way out with that beautiful voice of an angel.
Well, hey, at least he put the shine on Marrow on his way out, right? All right?
Yeah, for Marrow to get powerbombed by his wife again.
Yeah. All right. Well, Vader, we hardly knew ye. I wish that we had enough time in the world to play that clip 10 times as a bizarre 10-bell salute, but we'll keep it going because we need to get back to the hospital. Vince was trying to refuse getting his temperature taken there. Such a child. It's just such a fucking child throughout all of this.
No, not gonna do it.
We then went to Steven Regal. He was sitting at a picnic table, squeezing his own orange juice by hand, like a real man's man. And after that, we went to a repeat of the bullshit that we just witnessed with Sable and Jackie. And then we got psyched out by Edge coming down for a match. It seems like Edge was supposed to be going up against Owen Hart here, but while Edge got the full entrance, Owen came out in street clothes. Apparently, Owen has been very despondent over breaking Dan Severn's neck last week, and he tried to apologize here in the ring, but he became quite verklempt and was unable to complete the apology. JR said that Edge was going to get this match as a forfeit. I was unwilling to consider this a match for the purposes of our podcast here because there was no opening or closing bell to this. My standards fluctuate day to day. We also got confirmation during that segment that the person hanging around Gangrel, Christian, is Edge's brother. So official. Mind blown. So that's something to keep an eye on moving forward here. We also got a 10-10-3-2-1 rewind back to the Zamboni incident. Always a welcome sight. And then came back to Michael Cole trying to interview Owen Hart. As Owen was walking out of the arena, Owen would only say that he's done. So, guys, again, heavy on the storytelling here. Ryan, what'd you have on Steven Regal, Owen Hart, and the rest?
Well, again, I love the Steven Regal video. It maybe not quite as strong as some of the others, but still pretty damn good. I liked it. The Edge and Owen Hart not match, or whatever the hell you want to call it. I guess the biggest thing we learn here is that Owen Hart appears to be quitting because he broke Dan Severn's neck, and that Christian is Edge's brother. So that's a big development. I didn't remember the Owen Hart quitting over the Dan Severn angle thing, so I don't remember where that goes. So I guess that's interesting to me, but yeah, just a bunch of storytelling.
Yeah, the man's man squeezing his own orange juice was good to see, but he should be squeezing apples to make some apple juice for Mr. McMahon in the medical facility. And yeah, this Owen Hart promo was interesting. It was a sad promo. He made it look and sound very sad, saying that he's essentially quitting wrestling because he feels bad that he hurt Dan Severn and he thought about his wife and kids. And it's actually sad too because the WWF is going to kill Owen Hart in about 6 months or so.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy to hear this from him. And I think Aren't we going to get the blue blazer gimmick pretty soon?
Is that how he
After
comes back?
this, I feel like that's what happens when he comes back.
Yeah, that was my thinking with the whole "I'm done." Like Owen Hart as a solo
Owen
character is done,
yeah.
but the Blue Blazer is not.
We move on to some sad final days of Owen Hart.
Yeah, I had that same thought whenever I was watching this, and I actually looked up the incident with Owen happens in March of 99, so this is October of 98, and like you said, Joe, we're just a few months away, and yeah, we're getting into Blue Blazer time here, unfortunately. So, let's not dwell on that. We'll have plenty of time to enjoy Owen before the end. Let's move on to our next match. Ken Shamrock defeats Kane by pinfall in 7 minutes and 11 seconds. We got a picture-in-picture view of Vince McMahon watching from his hospital room as the big red jobber came down to the ring. And before the action began, just on its face, this looked like a great matchup. These two squaring off in the ring. It was a great visual, the way that the cameras showed this. I wasn't quite sure how it was going to play out, but I just wanted to make note of it here, at least, that it looked good on my screen. And in the end, I really don't think this disappointed me. It was by no means a match of the year candidate, but for what it is, and what it is a mid-card match on Raw between two very different styles of wrestling. It wasn't bad. The Undertaker eventually came out to stand at ringside. It was unclear at that point what his motivation was in doing so. After some weak pseudo-interference from The Undertaker, Shamrock won with a superplex, which was pretty impressive looking, I thought. And this ended up with Kane doing the Kane version of motherfucking someone as he was marching up the entryway like a man on a mission, but not like men on a mission.
Ooh.
Yeah, I had to.
Oscar.
Yeah. He didn't have Billy Ocean singing him up the ramp there. As a standalone match, taking the rest of the story out of this as a standalone match, I thought this was pretty decent. Everybody looked good in it, with the only weak part really being that interference from The Undertaker. I thought that the way that played out, it was too ambiguous for me. I know it caused Kane the loss, but I don't know. It was weak interference. Ryan, what'd you have on this match?
I'd agree with you. I thought this was a good, solid match between Kane and Ken Shamrock. We start off with Kane using his size to pretty much kick the shit out of Kenny through a good part of this match, which is what it should be. When you see the size difference between the two in the ring, it's quite shocking. And to put that even further, Kane has recently switched back to his ring attire with the missing one sleeve. He's been wearing the two-sleeved outfit ever since the First Blood match with Austin a while back, but he's recently switched back to this one, which I think just for some reason when your arms are in a long sleeve, they don't look quite as big or as defined. But that bare arm of Kane looks like a fucking tree trunk.
Yeah.
He is an enormous motherfucker, and he's tossing Shamrock around left and right until he jobs out at the end like Kane does. Little bit of a, as you stated, ambiguous if The Undertaker helped or not, but Shamrock's able to get this superplex, which was very impressive, and get a win over someone who's almost twice his size. So all around, I thought entertaining. I thought this match did its job well.
I didn't like it. I think it's mainly because I just look at Kane as a jobber ever since he had his 24-hour bullshit title reign. I cannot get over the fact that like this guy was like killing people. He was this demon psychopath. And then all of a sudden it's like they just like smacked him on the ass and said, "All right, pal, get out there. You're just a regular wrestler now." All of a sudden.
Everyone can beat him now.
Everybody can beat you now. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm not over that yet. I will get over it eventually, but it's still a little bit too fresh in my mind. Yeah, and then Undertaker interrupting here, and then he decides not to help Kane. They're just furthering along the bullshit cahoots stuff that we were
Well, have the cahoots been broken?
Yeah, we were growing tired of that, and here we go again.
Do you think, would you like Kane more if I could interest you maybe in a tag team with X-Pac?
or maybe the Hurricane Helms.
Yeah. Somebody nice and small to really do the Grapes of Wrath or John Steinbeck, George and Lenny thing.
I think he needs a girlfriend.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah. Somebody that does not need a girlfriend is Val Venus, because he was backstage right after this match. Groaning.
My Lord, Terry Reynolds.
Groaning all over Terry Reynolds.
That pink shirt and
Yeah.
pigtails. Whoo.
Yeah. In this real brief little vignette, Val suggested that Terry had placed her wedding ring straight up her cooter. And that is what took us into our next match. Val Venus with Terry Runnels defeats Gangrel with Christian by countout in 2 minutes and 35 seconds. So during entrances, JR let us know that the WWF will be at the Igloo in Pittsburgh Friday of this week. So since it is entirely possible that we could have attended that show, I thought we could take just a brief detour, and I am going to give you the match card. And if you guys wouldn't mind giving me your thoughts on the matches that we could have seen. So from Pittsburgh, PA, the Igloo on October 9th, 1998 in ascending order. From the bottom of the card, we would have seen, first up, Too Much defeating the Hardy Boys.
Ooh.
Oh,
That would have been an interesting match.
Yeah, that's a good starter.
Yeah.
Not to be outdone by that, it was followed by the New Age Outlaws defeating Jeff Jarrett and Dennis Knight to retain the WWF tag titles.
Horrible. Yep, there it is. That's what
my
I think of
thoughts
that.
on that.
Thank you. That was followed by Mark Henry and The Godfather defeating Ken Shamrock and Steve Blackman.
Yeah.
Oh.
Could have been decent.
Yeah.
Seems like the Godfather's been resurrected.
Yeah, after getting killed in the Brawl for All.
Edge defeated Gangrel after that.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
that's fitting for what we're doing right now.
That's a hot product right now.
Yep. Hot topics.
This next one made me about as erect as Terry Runnels' nipples were in that last segment. We would have gotten to see D'Lo Brown defeat X-Pac to retain the WWF European Championship.
Beautiful.
That's going to deliver every time.
I would have bought gold circle seating if that were on the card.
Not too expensive for a house show.
No. Sable and Val Venus defeated Jackie and Mark Marrow in an intergender
thanks.
tag match.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
The Rock defeated Vader. We would have gotten to see Vader on his way
No.
out.
Of course.
No.
A resounding no. And finally, our headliner here, Steve Austin defeated Kane, Mankind, and The Undertaker in a fatal four-way with Sergeant Slaughter as the special guest referee.
Wow, hey, they're pulling
boy.
out all the stops for that main event.
Yeah.
Star power, how could you hate it as a
Right.
fan in the crowd?
Yeah, your typical house show main event. It's like, let's just trot
Yeah.
everybody out there.
Yeah.
Dog and pony show.
Get that beef in the ring. Yeah, I think if I remember correctly what ticket prices were back then, we probably would have paid $30 a seat for non-shitty seating. Like shitty seating would probably go for 15 or 20.
Right.
So I think with $30, I probably would have been pretty happy with that card overall.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't have complained at all.
Yeah, house shows you pay to see the big names, and it seems like they got that, so
Yeah.
worth it.
All right, guys. So back to the cuckolding pervert. Here's where I had noted that Terry looked great. Great.
High beams.
Yeah. Well, I don't think you can turn them off whenever
Cold.
you've got that much silicone behind them. But
Daytime running lights.
yes, that's it. It's an upgrade.
Safety feature.
Val was dripping with sleaze like usual here. There it is. So gross. In entrances here, I popped with the fake rise out of the mist from Gangrel. The layout of the arena, the way they had things set up here, prevented him from doing his like rising from the flames thing. So they had to pump in a bunch of mist and he had to rise from a crouch instead. I thought that was hilarious.
And Christian just walked into the background of the fog.
Christian totally no-sold it.
Yeah.
Just a quick aside. Val Venus and Gangrel, don't the two of them own like a wrestling school out in California together now? Or am I thinking of somebody else?
I don't know.
I know they
have
both
no
have
idea.
wrestling schools. I thought it was together.
It could be.
Okay, well, we'll figure that out some other time, maybe. So after that, Edge showed up from the crowd to confront Christian, who we now know is Edge's brother. That drew Gangrel out of the ring to attack Edge. That started the count out, which was extremely fast. That was a lightning quick count out. That got us to our finish. And as things settled down there, Valentari started perving it up in the ring. But then Movie Usher guy showed up to deliver a golden note to them. And the lights went out, and a Shattered Dreams production showed on the Titantron as Goldust rained down from the ceiling, and a voice over the PA system let us know that that envelope was an invitation to Goldust's premiere next week. So there we have it, folks. Goldust returns next week, and I am super excited for that. This match was
Goldust the Uncuckable.
Especially after this match, I was excited to hear that because this match was useless. And I hate to say that about Gangrel. He's been doing really well so far.
Yeah.
But the drama with Edge and Christian kind of got lost in the excitement of the return of the uncuckable Goldust. So that's really my takeaway. Goldust coming back, and he's uncuckable. So, Joe, what did you think of this match and its aftermath?
It's similar to the match before this with Ken Shamrock and Kane. It's a useless match in a way. It's just furthering storylines.
Yeah.
And that's what this was. Terry is getting pretty big pops from these bloodthirsty, horny crowds, and it's rightfully so. She's really working this slutty stripper type gimmick very well, and these crowds are just eating it up. Movie Usher guy, I popped for. We got to see the Movie Usher lackey again, who we have not seen in a long time.
That was a good touch.
Yeah.
Bringing him back.
I wish that they would have done this last week. Last week's Goldust tease was not very good. I think this one was much, much better. And
yes,
this certainly gets you to tune in next week to see what's going to happen.
The match is a complete throwaway. This is just about advancing really storylines from both competitors. We have the Gangrel Christian Brood thing happening with Edge, and then the real storyline they focus on, Goldust coming back, which I'm thrilled for. I'm really looking forward to it, and I completely agree that this was the proper setup because he tells us when to expect him. Next week, after that beautiful Usher gave the envelope, he said, come to my debut next week. So Val Venus is going to be there, and so are you and I, to see Goldust the Uncuckable come back. And I'm excited. We've been calling for it for months at this point that we wanted Goldust back, and we're finally going to get it. So useless match, but good story progression.
Yes, completely agreed. We'll keep it going because next we got a lot of review from Heat, the episode of Heat that aired the night before this episode of Raw. A lot of reviews, specifically Stone Cold Steve Austin confronting a baby-faced, and by that, young-looking Shane McMahon at commentary.
He looked like he was 12.
He did. He did a really good
Mr.
job
Austin.
Doing the gulp. This is a thing between yourself and my father, sir. I don't know what this is about, but you can kindly take it up with him. Apparently, The Rock was unfortunate enough to be in the ring with Dennis Knight during those highlights. Let's get that sound real quick, please. There you go. We then went back to Vince McMahon in his hospital room, and the healthcare professional was there attempting to help Vince as he was being a stereotypical shitty patient. I kept on popping for this.
I want a lollipop.
It really hit close to home for me. Just real briefly here, guys, we'll go with Joe first. What did you have on the Heat recap and the Vince check-in?
I got to thinking here about what's going to happen after this, and I feel like there's maybe some seeds being planted here with Austin threatening Shane McMahon.
Yes, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
It's a little bit, we're a couple months removed still, but we're getting there.
Yeah, I definitely, and later on, thinking about The Rock too, I feel like we're just really climbing that peak of the Attitude Era here, and it's really awesome to see all this just week after week now at this point. Like every week moving forward, Raw is going to be an awesome show, pretty much.
Think about it, like 2 weeks in a row. Last week was an iconic episode. This week's an iconic episode.
Yeah, I think that's going to continue. And so that was cool to see that. And then obviously Vince McMahon in the hospital. All of these scenes are just so good. And it's just such a good build up to what's going to eventually happen.
I don't have a ton more to add to what Joe said other than agreeing like this setup for what's to come in the very near future is amazing.
All right. So let's keep going then to our next match. Al Snow defeats Jeff Jarrett by disqualification in 4 minutes and 16 seconds. And I hadn't even watched the match yet. Just reading that result in my research, preparing for the podcast here, I just made an assumption that since Al Snow won by disqualification, that there was probably going to be a guitar busted over Al Snow's head.
You would be wrong, sir.
I did end up being wrong, but tell me that wasn't a reasonable assumption.
Extremely reasonable, but they throw you a swerve here, bro.
If there's ever an appropriate wrestler to do it with, is Al Snow. He's like a hardcore style wrestler.
Yep. So that, like we said, didn't end up happening. Just in case anybody was wondering, the crowd wants head, though. You can't deny that.
Oh, yeah.
The crowd wants head.
Yep.
Sergeant Slaughter ended up coming out during the match, providing a terrible distraction so that Al Snow could get some ECW shit in out there at the outside. I did think, though, that Al Snow army crawling to try to sneak up on Slaughter was funny. But then, right after that, Jarrett clocked Snow in the back of the head with a steel chair. I don't think he quite lined it up straight. Whenever he did it, it looked like, just to my uneducated eyes, that the edge, like the handle, the strut supports of the chair are what hit Al Snow in the back of the head, and not the soft flat part in the middle that you try to go for. But it looked like it did a hell of a lot of damage. The King on commentary at one point, this is unironically called Austin Coldstone, and I popped. But then I also hate to admit this, but what drew the DQ was Slaughter interfering on behalf of Jarrett. No guitars involved. I was wrong. And while I do still like Al Snow, I hated this match. Ryan, what did you think of it?
Yeah, this was a pretty bad match and really pretty short. It's a throwaway match, but having Commissioner Slaughter come out and continue this useless feud between him and Al Snow, where is it going?
Yeah.
Where's this feud between them going to go? It's going nowhere. Let's just give it up. The best part of it is that chair shot that Jarrett gave to Al. He one hell of a swing on that one. Al was feeling it. Slaughter causes a DQ loss, and I don't give a shit. Nothing about this really interested me, I gotta say.
I don't know if I really hated it. I just thought it was just an okay, below average mid-carder match. And we've seen worse on Raw, but this was definitely not good.
Yeah. But after the bar that the rest of the episode had set so far, this was a really steep drop in quality. Maybe that's why it felt so jarring. But let's see if we can climb out of the fucking basement with our next match. The Road Dogg, with X-Pac and Chyna, defeats Mark Henry with D'Lo Brown by pinfall in 3 minutes and 40 seconds. The Road Dogg brought out a blow-up doll named Mona. I thought that was clever. But I still hate this rift in the Outlaws, the lack of the badass Billy Gunn. Also, Road Dogg had both tag belts with him. I also hated that. I don't like that one bit. Hopefully, eventually we figure out what's going on here and get back to just normal New Age Outlaws, because that is something I do like. We also got an update here, or at the very least confirmation, those papers that Chyna has been getting from Mark Henry. Mark Henry is suing Chyna for sexual harassment. So, confirmed. Sexual chocolate on the horizon. And talk about being overmatched and outclassed. Mark Henry put the Road Dogg to shame, just in sheer girth.
Like 3 times the size of Road Dogg.
Yeah, just seeing the two of these people in the ring together.
This was a handicap match.
It's hard to imagine a realistic, clean win for the Road Dogg here.
Yeah.
Despite that, though, this match looked great. I think I've mentioned it before, but Road Dogg sells the power perfectly. Mark Henry works the power moves really, really well. He's still just a teensy touch of greenness to him, but these power moves, my God, it's fucking brutal looking whenever he does some of these things, and the way that Road Dogg sells it.
The truth is he's able to use his strength to kind of power through some of the greenness.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yep. And what we got out of it was what I'm not sure if this will be the right kind of phrase for it, but like this felt like just a fucking brutal, pure wrestling match. There wasn't really a whole lot of shit going on at the outside until the finish, but like this was a squash up until the finish. Like this was a typical squash, even though it didn't end up that way. My God, Mark Henry just fucking obliterating the Road Dogg throughout this. What a great visual it was. But like I said, shenanigans in the finish. And that's how things in the ring ended. But Mark Henry grabbed a steel chair at the end of that, went running up the entry ramp to try to catch up to DX. We'll wait and see if we get any updates on that, if that goes anywhere. Spoilers, we don't. But they teased us for a quick second that we might get some backstage action there. But again, in the end, I thought this was a great match. I continue to be impressed with Mark Henry and the Road Dogg. Joe, what'd you think of it?
I don't know. I don't have much to say about the match, to be honest. I think I was going to say it's maybe safe to say that the Road Dogg just sucks in singles action. I prefer him in a tag match myself. And I think it's pretty clear why they tried to go with Billy Gunn to give the singles push out of the two of them. But I really enjoyed this because of this story and because of commentary. Because the sexual harassment lawsuit, JR is just selling the shit out of it. Like he's so disgusted by this. When he said that, JR is just, please, ridiculous, ludicrous, just saying all these words about how disgusted he was with it. So that was funny. And then at the end, when Chyna has the finger in Mark Henry's face and is giving him the business, Jerry Lawler said, wait, let's listen to what she's saying. Is it sexual? I popped so hard. So I loved the storytelling and the commentary for this match.
Yeah, the storytelling, and I thought it was a pretty solid match, too. Road Dogg certainly is completely outgunned in the ring by Mark Henry, and Mark Henry just tossed him around like a rag doll for most of this match. And I agree with you, Bartlett, that Road Dogg does a good job selling getting the shit kicked out of him. I don't know what other way to put it, but I thought he looked pretty good in there with this monster just annihilating him. And yeah, to your point, Joe, about JR flipping out about the sexual harassment, I think his one comment was, "We're just lawsuit crazy in this society." That was a good line from him. Of course, we do end up getting a little bit of outside interruptions to further things along, but all around, I thought a solid match with some more storytelling. We got further details about the fact that he's suing Chyna, where that's going, and a little bit more of verification that we're heading to the sexual chocolate phase of Mark Henry, which is very exciting. So the match was all around decent. It was nothing great, but with that and the storytelling, I thought again worked like many of the matches tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, and to be clear, I agree with you, Joe, on the Road Dogg and solo action. I think he's generally crappy as a solo wrestler, but here, he didn't really even have to wrestle. He just had to make sure that he didn't die hitting the mat. He had to tuck and roll through this match, and he looked good doing it. Put him up against anybody else, take your pick out of the rest of the entire roster, and it would not have looked anywhere near as good as this did, to me at least. Speaking of things that look good, we got a view of Vince McMahon in the hospital. And he was ringing his call bell for more juice. We got...
What a bitch.
We got another repeat of Austin on the Zamboni from last week, and then went back to Vince, where while the healthcare professional was there trying to take care of Vince, a nondescript person in a set of surgical scrubs came into the room in the background there while Vince was bitching about having normal vital signs. That ended up being Stone Cold Steve Austin. And this is another one of my favorite scenes of all time. Specifically, Austin dinging Vince over the head with the stainless steel bedpan.
Absolutely classic.
All of it is good, but that specific part, because there's a very clear
clang.
Dong! Whenever he does
like Three Stooges.
Vince ends up getting zapped with a defibrillator. Meanwhile, this whole time...
probe up the ass.
This whole time, Vince was in his tighty whities in a hospital gown, getting tossed all over this room. That open hospital gown, Ryan, like you said, that allowed easy access for Austin to shove
wide open
what looked to me like a yank hour suction catheter up Vince's ass. And yeah, we got a repeat of it all after the commercial break, and I absolutely loved it all over again. Again, just for me personally, so cathartic to watch. Sometimes you just want to ding a fucking patient over the head with a bedpan.
Yeah.
Ryan, once again, one of the best scenes in WWF history. What'd you think of it?
Absolutely agree. This was beautiful. The moment that we heard Stone Cold, the so-called doctor, answer, "I'll take it from here, nurse." Yeah. Just, and Vince's face, just all of it was just so fucking perfect. And the ding over the head with the bedpan, the probe up the ass. It was just, this scene delivered. Every second was another great moment. It just brings you back to your childhood. This transports you back to your childhood 25 years ago watching this shit live. And my God, does this still live up? Absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, this just never gets old. This might be my favorite segment of all time ever in wrestling. It's the clang of the bedpan off of Vince's cranium. The stuff I forgot about was, like, I forgot about the paddles to the chest.
Yes.
and the probe up the ass.
I forgot about the probe, the catheter up the ass. That's wild.
It all just happens so quickly. Like, it's got to be like a minute long, if that. It's just crazy. It just happens so fast, but it's just so epic and amazing and just never gets old. And I really loved after the fact, like, this is not the end of the show. And Jerry Lawler, again, like, he is just selling this the rest of the show, saying how humiliating it was for Vince McMahon. He's in his underwear, his briefs.
Why don't they have a back on those guys?
Yeah, that's right. Like, everything he was saying was just making me, like, think about it again and laugh. Like, this was just such a great moment.
Perfect.
Yeah.
It was perfect.
Totally one of those things that everyone's going to be talking about it the next day.
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
And it's now 2 weeks in a row. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Last week, the Zamboni. This week, the bedpan. They're just hitting it out of the park week in and week out right now.
Yeah.
And just great overacting again by Vince, like always. Like, Vince is just so good. He's so good at this role. It's just so natural for him to just act like a complete jackass. Yeah.
Peak Vince McMahon here in the hospital. All right, guys, let's move forward to our final match of the night. The Undertaker defeats The Rock by pinfall in 12 minutes and 49 seconds. So I'm not going to lie, when I saw this as the main event, I was really excited. And at the start here, I was trying to be cautiously optimistic. As far as I can remember, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the first time that these two have met in the ring in solo action.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, it's the first time that The Rock has been at that superstar level of The Undertaker to get booked into a main event match like this at the top of a card. Mark Henry and D'Lo Brown came down to the ring to stand at ringside, and I immediately got the spidey sense that maybe we're going to get the end of the nation here in this match. Kane came out too, and I got a little annoyed because I was really looking forward to what I was hoping was going to be a clean match between The Rock and The Undertaker to really show off where The Rock is right now. But I ended up getting proven wrong once again. D'Lo and Mark Henry left The Rock alone there. So while the end of the nation probably, well, it definitely didn't happen in this episode, we're definitely laying more of those building blocks for it. It really feels like it's going to be happening soon after this. And things just settled in after that. There was nothing wrong with this match, but I think I was expecting the kind of electricity from The Rock that we just haven't gotten to yet. And that's a me problem, not a Rock problem. There was some fuckery with Kane hitting The Undertaker with a chair, but the ref was down because when will Earl Hebner ever be useful? But that did bring us to a much better finish than the match that led up to it, and we faded to black. So I thought that even though the middle of the match was a little down-tempo for me, the finish solved everything, and I came away overall satisfied with how that went down, and it was a pretty good end to what I thought was a fantastic episode of Raw. Joe, what did you think of this match and the way that Raw ended tonight?
I thought it was a good competitive match. I didn't think it was anything that was real great, considering the two that are in this, The Rock and The Undertaker. You would expect a great match. I thought it was just a good competitive match, nothing memorable. Kane involved here, he's just standing motionless outside the ring, which would have been more scary if he was not a jobber again.
Big red jobber.
Just doesn't have the same impact as it would have 6 months ago, but hey, whatever.
He could have just thrown a lightning bolt and killed The Rock.
Exactly.
Right there in
That's
the ring.
what we want to see. That's what we
Right.
want. Or Earl Hebner, actually.
Right. Well, yeah.
So speaking of Earl Hebner, just terrible acting by him, unlike Vince McMahon that we just saw. Just absolutely horrible. A pretty good ending, too. You can't really give either of these guys a clean win right now. They're at the top. So you can't really give somebody a clean win in this situation. So I liked the ending, but this match really got me thinking of where we're going. And I guess it's cheating because we know what eventually happens. Yeah. We know we're getting The Rock and Austin at WrestleMania, but that's not for another 6 months. There's a lot that happens before that, but we got that stare down between The Rock and Austin earlier tonight.
Yeah.
Which is really planting a seed. We got that confrontation between Austin and Shane McMahon. So, we know we're getting the corporation here real soon. We know The Rock is going to be a part of that. We know that we're getting that Rock and Mankind match in 3 months. This is, I'm telling you, we are climbing that peak. And it's just going to be great week after week.
I thought this was a fun match. The Rock versus Undertaker. This is an Attitude Era special right here. If you'd tune in any week during Raw, this is the type of match you'd be expected to see. And I thought it was pretty interesting, D'Lo Brown and Mark Henry coming down. We haven't seen a functioning nation in months. It's been probably a month and a half, 2 months now since we've seen the nation really together. And then we learn that, well, the nation isn't really here to help Rock as they walk away right after the choke slam. So we have storytelling there on top of what I thought was pretty good action. I did want to bring up JR referred to The Rock as a blue chipper personified.
Whoa.
Personified. That's right. He's upping the ante on his blue chipper statement tonight. That stuck out to me as much as the ring work did, but the ending I thought was, like you stated, Joe, we're leading up to a pay-per-view event with Undertaker versus Kane, and The Rock's star is rising right now. We don't really want him to take a loss, so this is the type of loss we expect in this situation, but I thought a very solid main event. If I was in the audience that night, I would be pretty damn happy. This was a long match between two of the biggest stars in the company right now.
Yeah, completely agreed. It was a great way to end things, and I'm really excited moving forward. Like you guys have both said, we're climbing the peak now. So as opposed to Vader who is smacking his head off the rungs, tumbling down the ladder.
Getting rid of him is part of that piece to excel us into the next stratosphere.
Making a mastodon's amount of room on the roster. All right, guys. So, as I said, we faded to black. So, let's take it on over to highlights and lowlights. Ryan, why don't you take that first?
My highlight is pretty damn easy. It is anything that has to do with Mr. McMahon in the hospital tonight. 2 iconic scenes. The first with Mankind introducing Socko, and of course, Stone Cold dressing up as the doctor to rattle McMahon over the head with that bedpan. So that's definitely the fucking highlight for me. And the low light is really, to me, I think, really the only real shitty part of the night, which was the Headbangers versus ICP. I don't know where the fuck this feud came in with the oddities, but it was definitely the low light of the match, or of the episode.
I'm going to go with the easy highlight. It's the Mr. McMahon and Steve Austin portion of the show in particular, even though all of the McMahon segments were great here. And for a low light, I'm just going to go ahead and say I don't have one, because this is just such a good episode. Well paced. There was some garbage in there sprinkled in, but this was just so well paced, and the Mr. McMahon stuff was just placed so well that this is just an amazing episode. So I'm not going to go with any low light in this episode.
Yeah, we're obviously 3 for 3 on this, on highlights. Vince in the hospital for me. I didn't put a ton of thought into ranking anything, but at the very least, in my top 5 greatest moments of all time, probably safe to say top 3. And just one of the things that, and we didn't mention it, I was waiting to see if either of you would. So throughout all of this, we got maybe a half a dozen scenes of Vince in the hospital, not always with other people, but sometimes just him sitting there griping. But the entire time he had the heart monitor, the beep, beep, beep. And every time he got worked up, his heart rate went up. And it started going beep, 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 beep. Like with Mankind there, with Austin. Little touches like that made this just so fucking enjoyable.
Yeah, Mankind giving him the chocolates that were all already eaten. Yeah.
And Yerple. We can't forget about Yerple.
She does a really good trick with a dog.
And my low light, I ended up going with Al Snow and Jeff Jarrett, that match, mainly because of Sergeant Slaughter. Like, I don't know what's going on there, but I don't like it. I don't want it on my fucking screen. Get the chin out of here. But honorable mention to the continuing dumb drama with Billy Gunn and the New Age Outlaws. Bringing Mona, the blow-up doll, in here, like that was funny and entertaining and all, but I just want Billy Gunn to be out there with the Road Dogg. We don't need to fuck with that. It's working quite well. So, all right, Joseph, I don't suppose you have any contemporary wrestling news from on and around October 5th, 1998, do you?
I do. I have some quick notes here from the Wrestling Observer. I don't have the numbers exactly, but Dave Meltzer wrote a pretty lengthy article about the Monday Night Wrestling Wars and how they are starting to pull away some numbers from Monday Night Football in the ratings. There's definitely a rise in popularity in Monday Night Wrestling. Again, I don't have the exact numbers.
Rise like Vel Venus.
So I don't have the exact numbers here, but Meltzer wrote a pretty lengthy article about it. Vader is done at the end of the month, according to Dave Meltzer, so all of that tracks. He says that both sides have agreed to a contract release for him. Here's a nice contract of someone that is coming into the WWF. Ray Traylor has signed and should debut soon. Better known as the Big Boss Man.
Nice.
Dave is reporting that he will probably be a heel enforcer for Mr. McMahon.
Yeah, I was going to say, if my memory serves me correct, he should show up before Judgment Day.
Yeah. In the SWAT gear with the black head mask thing, the ski cap. Yeah.
Couple of injury updates. Savio Vega will be out at least another few months due to neck and spine problems, so get well soon, Savio.
Get Edge away from him.
Yeah. Animal, I know you guys have missed LOD 2000 and Drunk Hawk. Animal is scheduled to return soon. He had knee surgery, but he will be back soon. Godfather is also expected back soon. As Bartlett mentioned, he was at that house show in Pittsburgh. Couple of publications here. Rolling Stone is going to do an article on Steve Austin, and Playboy is preparing a wrestling article combined with a photo spread of Sable.
Yeah.
We are getting close to...
Definitely remember that.
Yeah,
we are getting close to that. USA Network has renewed Sunday Night Heat for 2 more seasons, so that show must be doing well. Dave Meltzer reports, here's some fake news for you. The hopes are for Shawn Michaels to be able to work the Royal Rumble. We know that's not going to happen. Dave also says that if the New Age Outlaws are broken up, we can expect a big singles heel push for Billy Gunn. So we'll see what happens there. We can expect Kurt Angle to debut with a major push early 1999. So there's some
nice
accurate news reporting there from Dave. And while we wait for Sable to appear in Playboy, we can watch her on Pacific Blue on October 11th, which was actually mentioned on commentary tonight. And Dave Meltzer says that her one line in the show is, "I'm so hot, I want to take my clothes off."
Oh, God.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
It's amazing that her acting career did not take off after that.
Amazing.
And that is all.
I'm so hot, I want to take my clothes off. Thank you, Joseph. Illuminating as always. And that's it, folks.
Wait a second. Before we wrap things up, I just wanted one more time.
Baby, bitter time's over. I'm nothing but a big piece of shit. Big fat piece of shit.
All right. Now we can close out.
You can't see it, but I've got a candle lit here for that.
A vigil.
Yeah. For that big fat piece of shit. I want to thank you again for joining us. If you like what we're doing here and want to connect with us, you can email us at WRASSLINRAW, just at gmail.com to the end of that to submit questions or comments. Check us out on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and on every podcast subscription platform. While you're there, don't forget to follow and subscribe to get every episode of Wrasslin Raw coming to you every week. Give us a 5-star review and tell all of your friends to tune in to the most cathartic Monday Night Raw review podcast on the airwaves. Next time on Wrasslin Raw, we're going to take a look at the Raw that aired on October 12th, 1998, with matches featuring Steve Blackman, Mark Henry, and many more. So, for Joe and Ryan, I'm Jason, and this has been Wrasslin Raw.